Hi and welcome for something completely new. As you can see, there is a new icon and I would like to start a beginner starter series. Initially we definitely would have to set up a new application and we will go step by step through that because that's most likely something completely new for most of you. So let's see how that works, and definitely if you like what you see, please leave a subscription and yeah, let's go. So as you saw, we still have the Cincha MVP intro. I will have to make a new one, and but now let's start with Neo. So probably question is, what is Neo at all? I did a comparison with XJS versus Neo, and what Neo is should become more clear throughout this mini-series. But here is basically the GitHub page where everyone can get the sources from. And if you would like to work with the other contributors, feel free to help us. Okay, but for now, let's get started. We need a new application. And for that, I just simply start in here in the terminal. And let me just make this a bit bigger, clear this. And let's see, what do we have? I already downloaded the node modules so that we gain a bit of speed in here. So, but there's nothing else I set up. So let's start with, I need to bring my to-dos. Okay, now the first step would be to write in here npx neo-app. So most of you most likely know the command npm install, something like that. So where's the difference between npm and npx? Let me just write here versus npm. So npm is the node package manager. And this one is the dependency packager manager you get out of the box when you install Node.js. It provides a way for developers to install packages, both globally and local. Globally, it's always available on your computer wherever you go, local, just for the project. And with npx, it installs the dependencies in your local node modules folder. So exactly this one. So what we need is the sources for the Neo application, and that is a shortcut to write npx neo-app and start. This one is going step by step. It leads us through the installation. So the first thing it asks is, please choose a name for the workspace. So whatever you see here in these round brackets, if you just click enter, you'll choose that one. But I need neo-workspace here. So what is a workspace doing for us? I will explain that probably a bit later. For now, if you have several applications, all of the applications can use the same sources. So if you upgrade one application, you can instantly upgrade all your applications. But I'll get into more pros of a workspace later on. So we choose here new workspace. Now, my first step, initially, right away when you create a workspace, you do create an application right away. So for this one, I would like to name it include. And why I name it that way, I will go into that after installing. But for now, let me just say, you should use something that's written in Pascal case. So the same as this my app. the first letter is an uppercase, and then each word is uppercase. That's Pascal case. And that's how you should write the name of the application. Okay, we call this first application of mine include, because I will be including something during this process. And later on, I will create an application that's called exclude, where I exclude that. So that's why I call this include for now. Now we are asked for a theme. So this is quite important if you're working with huge companies. So let's say some huge automobile developer comes to you and says, okay, do this application for us. Then you have to follow their CI, their style guide. And if so, you might want to choose none. Otherwise, I would choose all. That gives you the flexibility later on to choose between light and dark theme. And all components are a bit pre-styled already. So that's why I choose in here all. Now you can add a lot of different things. Initially flagged are drag and drop and style sheet. And you definitely want to leave them on. Drag and drop, as it names, if you want to have some drag and drop functionality for your windows, your dialogues, then you definitely want to have this drag and drop. And for the style sheets, if you choose the style sheet in here, then you get automatically Font Awesome installed. So if you need your some icons, the home icon or the save icon or whatever, you might want to go with the style sheet. Other than that, there are a lot of different things. I will mark with the space key the M charts for now. And that's what we use. That's it. Now the next one. Do you want to use shared workers? And shared workers, what's that? So if you're using multiple browser support, Windows support, so if you have a couple of desktops and you want to use a single instance of Neo and to control a couple of windows, so you can have on your main desktop a window and on the second desktop another window, these can communicate with each other. That's one of the big pros of Neo actually, so that it has out of the box multi-browser window support. And we want this for now. I will explain a bit more why, because this is actually my include. I include this browser support in here. And yeah, that's why I go for a yes. I would always, if you might use this functionality later on, you definitely want to initially mark this as yes. We will deactivate it later and I will show you exactly how. The next one is the service worker. So if you're caching images so that the next time the user browses the same page, these images are pre-cached, then the service worker would be what you want. For now, I'm not using it because the service worker will be activated on the first run. And even if you disable it later on, it will stay active until you terminate it. So that's actually why I leave it off for now. And now we're getting all the installation part. So while this is downloading or installing a lot of things, let me go over the first thing that we want to do afterwards. But first of all, you might want to leave an abo if you like what you see right now, and if the speed is okay for you, how I explain things, feel free. Okay, so for the first thing we will do in a bit is to see at which version is the web page, the GitHub page. And I scroll just a bit down and you see here npm 4071. If I go here into package, which already has been installed. So a new workspace, we already have the app. It's just doing a lot of different things. For now, I would like to look into the package.json and see in here that it is at 66 and the web page mentions 71. So I will go for 71 in here. With this, you will be good for a long time because this carré in the front means as long as this only increases, it's good to like replace it in here. As soon as we get other versions, we again have to go back and to increase the number in here to update to a new version. This only needs us to say npm install. You remember what I explained in the beginning, npx and npm? Now this will be npm install. We will do that. So what else? Let me just go in here, unfold this for a second. So we already have our include in here, as you can see. The include, this is, you remember the application name? It was include with a capital I, but since all the directories are always lowercase, it keeps this one to lowercase. And if we go into our view, we can see that it says include uppercase. And this always happens 3 times. So if I go here, you can see that we get these out of the box 3 different namespaces added to our documentation and to our class name. So that's why if you're writing a lot of files, you might want to keep it as minimal as possible. So for include, I probably would just say inc if this would be a real project, or inc.v or something, whatever the name is. As I previously thought, I named this new tutorial. So that would be new tutorial, but that is a long name. So in that case, I would end up with NT most likely. But because I wanted to show some things, include, I named these include in here. So this is another thing that happens out of the box, that the internal server is running. Your local host is being created at port 8081. So right away, after launching the npx new app, let me see if I can find that all the way up. Yeah, npx new app, it will create a server for me so that I can start working. We just killed our server, so if I press F5 in here, we're not getting to the server. It's offline. So we want to rerun that. To rerun that, I have to go here and say, show npm scripts. And then down here, I get this button npm with all the scripts, and in there, server start. So let me just server start this. So right now, it restarts my server at port 8081. And let me refresh that here. Okay, I guess it should be up in a second. And with that running, let's go for the next one. I told you that we will create a second app, which is called exclude, include. And what's happening here? Let me rerun this. Should be up and running. Oh, here we go. So now we can create an app with, you remember npm down here, and one of these npm scripts says create app, and that's what we are doing right now. So I'm double clicking here, and again interactively we will be asked, what do you want to name the app? And I want to call it exclude. But this time I will always just press enter for the standard, for the default values. And here is the second reason why I love Workspaces. Let me remove the npm for a second, get rid of this, minimize this. So instantly, it just took about a blink of an eye to create a new application. This is because we are working with the workspace. The workspace allows us to have all these sources in here, and only the new stuff we need, the application view, or just to run these few files, and that's it. We already have a new application. To get the application being built in here, we would have to run a new npm script, and that is build all or build questions. But let me just go step by step. So let me close this. We do not need this right now. What do we need? We need to have the include neo-config.json, and we need the exclude neo-config.json, and we will place this side by side. And out of the box, you can see here is not as much in there as here. That should do for now. I guess you see that. Let me just move it. Oh, this way. That's cool. Okay, so that way we can see way more. So this one is the include and the exclude. So the include gives me an easy way to later on add more thread add-ons. I just have to delete the mcharts, which I just added, to get this part included into my application. That's why I always do that, because sometimes I want to add things later on to the neo-config, and this gives me an easy way to add it. And the same for the shared worker. And I just can set this to false in here as long as I don't need it. So this is for me why I started installing the application, including an additional add-on and using the shared workers. Now let me close this one. We don't need that anymore. I guess you understood what I meant to say by this one. And now we did this, we did that. Oh, documentation. There was one thing I wanted to mention about documentation. The Neo documentation most likely is pretty important. You will find a link below for the Neo documentation, but at the same time, if you run this, you find here a link docs. Now, we are looking at so many different things here. And one more thing would be going into my application, the include, and to see out of the box, we're getting this Hello World app. And you see you have different tabs here. That's just fine for now. And then we get something, if I press here on this top, we have all these different workers. Now let me give you an example of how this is coming together. Oh, exclude was not the one. Include. We are going for this one. Now I will just scroll down here. It doesn't matter what exactly happens in here, but I guess you can see items, tab config. This is the second tab config. So tab 2, most likely it's this item up here. And I want to add an additional function to be run at the moment we click it. So I will just add handler in here. I will explain that in detail in another tutorial. For today, I just want to show some things, and that's why I'm just adding here a function. And with that function, a console log, and we just say, that's a bug. So we're going for, oh, glory. Glory is better. Glory. Now let me run this. and tap here. And you can right away see, let me clear that missing, and it says glory. And I press there again, and it says glory. And yeah, that's because I'm adding the handler in here with glory. You can see this in the development tools right away. Now, if I change the neo-config to use the shared worker to true, and I rerun this, let me clear that again, the favicon is missing, and I click here, you can see nothing is being output here. I click this again. As you can see, I'm clicking this. So nothing is being output here. Nothing changed other than setting the used shared workers to true. Here's my handler. But if I go for Chrome inspect workers, you can just add this workers like this. It will right away jump with this add hash devices. And then I go for shared workers. You can see that we get these 3 shared workers in here. You remember we had the same thing up here. They are gone in here. We do not have these shared workers any longer in our drop-down menu here. So they moved into the DevTools inspect workers, shared workers, and I'm going for the app worker. Going to inspect that one. And you can see glory. We already have the glory in here. So if I tap here, we're getting all the output from the main container into my app worker. And it's no longer in here. This is necessary if you are working with multiple windows. Then these windows communicate with each other, and then you have to use the shared workers, and then you have to look in the developer console, inspect workers, shared workers, app worker. That's where you find your output. And that's why I would personally always go with, whenever, even if I'm doing multi-window apps, as long as I'm not working with these different windows at the same time, I'm saying false here, because then I can simply just work with my developer console. And now if I click here, you can see we get this glory again. So memorize initially on creating the application, we will say use the shared workers. Then after creating, I'm setting it to false, and I'm deleting whatever I added and I'm not yet using, so that we are fine with the neo-config. I showed in here by adding the handler where you will find the output. And now I guess we are getting to why. Why are there so many different workers in here running? This just means my top, which is my main application DOM. And then we are having a couple of different workers which are doing different work. So our main worker still will do the DOM manipulation. And with that, that's fine. But everything else should be done by a different worker. That way, Neo ensures that you're using different cores of your CPU. Your CPU most likely has 8 to 16 cores, something like that. Most of them are just sleeping and they're doing nothing while your browser is working. And what Neo is doing, Neo is saying, see, I'm actually having the logic of the DOM as a VDOM, a virtual DOM. And whatever I need to do in there, I will do in the virtual DOM. And only at the point where I need to update the DOM, I will send a command from one worker to my main thread and say, re-render one specific part of the DOM. We'll get into the output for that in another video, how you can see what exactly is happening there. For now, I just want to explain that's why we do have all these different workers in here. And that's why Neo is so blasting fast. And still, I would say to keep it workable, use the shared workers as false. And I hope that you liked today's session, and I will do more about Neo in the future. We will do our own components, get more information from the console so that you get everything you need to know about Neo from the console as well, because in here you can easily type Neo and you get so many different information. You can go to different workers in here. You will always get different information from the different workers, but it's all a single application. And if you're having multiple windows, it's still a single application. Okay, I hope you liked what I did today, and yeah, see you next week.